So Lucy, previously we talked about the most exciting aspects of instructional design and in 2024. Let me flip that a little bit and say someone else comes to you new to instructional design and they say, Lucy, I want to be in this field, but I'd really like to contribute in some aspect of instructional design that might be needing some help or lacking in some way. I want to really make a contribution to shoring that area up. What would you tell them? What aspect of instructional design do you think could use a little bit of work?
Well, I think one piece of that is that sometimes we ourselves can be a little disconnected
Mhm.
from the final product. And so the lived experience of both student and the faculty member, I think is really important to kind of start to do some of the interpretive work.
Mhm.
So some work that our team has been doing that's been really interesting is talking to faculty and students and finding out, for example, what does a grading scheme mean to them? A faculty member maybe says like, I want to I want to increase student participation. And so I'm going to increase the chunk of my grade for that. And then all they do is take attendance, right? And the students take away from that, like, well, I know it's important to show up. And I know it's important maybe to do a poll, but I don't know why. There's a lot of stuff now about trying to emphasize process rather than high stakes exams. But really going in and talking about the reasons why and the kind of the motivation, I don't think we really do enough of that. We say maybe it's because we feel like it's a little imprecise. We like to say like, okay, we know that this is a tested, study reinforced method. And our team does that. We do studies. We're big fans of that. But actually talking to people and finding out the nuances of kind of why this stuff is, and then helping people to understand. If I come to you and I say, Michael, you got to do this because this is the most effective thing, just that's how it is. It's like you might feel like I should do that, right? But there's not really something compelling there as much as if I said to you, here's what you're saying to your students. Here's what your students have said about this. Or let's look together at the evaluations and talk about like what the message is coming out here, right? And so I think being able to kind of to fill in the recommendations that we have with broader set of information. So from putting yourself in the perspective of a student, from putting yourself in the perspective of the instructor, and adding to the field more of this type of reflective information and analysis of kind of the broader impacts that may not be just the study itself, but a little bit of an amplification and closer reading of evaluations. But what would you say, Michael?
I would agree, and my approach would be a little because I'm more trying to practice some technical skills. I would talk about it from maybe building up a few more skills, but for that same reason. What I would say to an up and coming designer would be, you know, you're probably good at design, you've studied design, you want to be a designer, but my new approach would be, I would call it EDA, evaluation, design, and analysis. In other words, there's a lot of people who do evaluation and there's a lot of people who do data analytics. But if you, as an instructional designer, could get your feet wet into those two areas as well as design, you are you will be above most people doing it. So, and that would lead to you being able to talk to teachers at a much more higher level to say, listen, let's figure out before we even start to design, let's figure out we could evaluate the effectiveness of the thing we're going to build together. I will help build an evaluation process to get data to see if this will work. Then I will design it, and design chops are really big. But to be able to use some tool, doesn't have to be a programming tool like Python. Just it could be Google Docs. It could, I'm sorry, Google Sheets or Excel. To be good enough to take the data that you collected and analyze it in some way to show that it was effective, or it might not have been, but here's how we could iterate. To be a designer that can do those three things, I think would just set you so much apart from other instructional designers. And then you could do exactly what you're saying. Go to the teacher with the ability to say, I know how we could set up an evaluation process. I know how and why we should design it this way. And I know how to crunch the numbers to see if we got where we wanted to go. I think that's a little bit lacking because that's a lot of things. People don't do nothing but evaluation. People do nothing but data analytics. And some people do nothing but design courses. So I'm not saying you have to be expert in all three, but if you could think in terms of those, like bring those three together somehow, even at a lower level, I think it would be great to strive to be that kind of designer.